We all know what animals, rare and common, look like, but almost no one knows what animals look like when they're newborn babies. It turns out even some of the scariest animals look adorable, and some animals look like totally different beings when they're newborns. I'm Charlie, and today we're going to look at what newborn baby animals look like. Before we get into it, why not subscribe and press the notification bell too. Armadillos. Armadillos are rather bizarre looking mammals. They have the ability to curl up into a ball of armor. After conception, it takes around 60 to 100 days for an armadillo to be born. One single fertilized egg can actually develop more than one armadillo. When they're born, they're tiny, pink, and don't have that hard shell. They're also incredibly cute. Newborn armadillos are actually born blind, and also their skin quickly turns from a soft skin to that hard shell. They stay with their mother for many months. That's because their armor has to get stronger over time. Until that happens, it's up to their mom to protect them and make sure they're safe. But within only a few hours of them being born, they can already walk. Kangaroos. Kangaroos are a piece of Australian iconography. Everyone knows what these famous hopping animals look like, but if you saw it as a newborn baby, you'd never recognize it as a kangaroo. Of course, kangaroos famously carry their cubs in a pouch. But how does a baby kangaroo actually get in there? It's a myth that they're born inside the pouch. As you can see, newborn baby kangaroos look absolutely tiny. They're bright pink colored and have no eyes. Look closely and they actually do have hind legs, you just can't see them because they're undeveloped. But within 5 minutes, a newborn kangaroo works out that it needs to go into its mother's pouch. Once inside, it begins drinking its mother's milk. 200 days later, it will be strong and big enough to actually leave the pouch. Its hind legs need to develop lots of strength, which it can do in a few hundred days. After an estimated 250 days, a kangaroo will leave its mother's pouch for the last time. After that, it's on its own and is a fully grown kangaroo. But it's pretty amazing how this can turn into this. Polar bears. Polar bears are large, scary land predators. They have to be very tough because they live in extreme conditions, for example the Arctic. But newborn polar bears don't look anywhere near as scary as a fully grown one. They're very cute and have short, thin white fur. Underneath that is a pinky skin which turns dark when they're an adult. They're also born blind and don't see until after a few days. They usually stay with their mother inside a cave. That's where polar bears often give birth because it's warmer for the baby cubs. Baby polar bears don't have much body fat, so it's very cold for them at first. Surprisingly, newborn polar bears look a lot like puppies, but they grow up much faster and much larger. Octopi. Octopuses are pretty creepy in many ways. They're gigantic, tentacled underwater creatures. But you'd be forgiven for swimming past baby octopuses and not even realizing they're there. That's because they're minuscule, transparent beings. All you can see is two tiny black dots, which are their eyes. Octopi usually lay eggs at night. They will do this by some underwater rocks. This is to hide them from any predators who may come along and eat their eggs. Sadly, female octopi actually pass away after guarding and caring for their eggs. Sometimes they actually carry the eggs around with them. It can take anywhere from half a year to a full year for these eggs to hatch. Amazingly, during all that time, the female octopus does not eat. Its body also goes through various changes as it's carrying the eggs. Then, when these eggs hatch, the female octopus passes away. But that's no problem for baby octopi because they can take care of themselves. Bats. Of course, right now no one wants to be anywhere near bats. That's because they started a certain global pandemic. But even though the world is pretty anti-bat right now, their babies still do look very cute. The weight of a baby bat is about half that of the mother. That would be like human mothers carrying around a 5-stone baby. Because baby bats are so huge compared to their mothers, they can only be born one at a time. Amazingly, bats have wings as soon as they're born. But it still takes them many weeks to learn how to fly. During this time, they drink their mother bat's milk. Elephant. Elephants are the largest land mammals in the world, and that's why the pregnancy of an elephant lasts so long. An elephant's pregnancy takes 22 months. Of course, this is much longer than humans and many other animals, and this would explain why the elephant population is shrinking. But elephants do learn about life very quickly. They can walk after only 30 minutes of being born. This explains the long pregnancy. They may not make it in the wild if they needed a long time to mature and learn how to do things. However, they do drink their mother's milk for many years. Then, after about 4 years, they go on to eating a plant-based diet. Turtles. Sea turtles lay their eggs on beaches and dunes. They do this at night so predators can't see. They'll dig a hole in the sand and deposit their eggs away from the tide. They do this to make sure their eggs don't get swept up in the tide, but this sometimes does happen. They will sometimes lay 100 or more eggs. But that's because not all of them will survive. When the eggs hatch, they rush to the water. Some of them will be hunted by birds on their way to the water. But when the surviving turtles get to the water, they're on their own. Unfortunately, some of these turtles will be eaten by fish. It's said that for every 1,000 turtles born, only 100 will make it into adulthood. Also, sometimes people fishing with nets accidentally catch baby turtles. And this of course does not help their chances one bit. Snails. You may wonder what snails look like when they're babies. After all, they're surely not born with a hard shell. Well, snails lay around 100 eggs at a time. Then after about 4 weeks, these eggs will hatch. Tiny snails will then hatch out of them and they'll be transparent. They will have a shell, but it won't be hard. But then they're on their own. They don't have any parental help and take care of themselves. Pandas. Pandas actually belong to the bear family, and they're a piece of Chinese iconography. The problem with bears is they will soon become extinct because not enough give birth. Amazingly, half of all panda births are twins. But pandas usually abandon their cubs, which is why it's hard for them to survive. Baby pandas are tiny, cute, blind, and have no teeth. It's unknown why baby pandas are born so weak. You'd have thought they would have evolved to be more strong so they don't pass away and go extinct. But unfortunately, scientists can't study this. That's because pandas are very reluctant to breed in captivity. Snakes. Many people say their biggest fear is snakes. Snakes hatch from eggs, and mother snakes usually lay about 20 eggs at a time. It takes about 2 months for these eggs to be laid, and then about 3 months after that, the snakes will hatch out. Venomous newborn snakes will already be dangerous. They may be small, but they can still be aggressive and venomous even as newborn babies. Crocodiles. Crocodiles are of course a very scary and dangerous animal, but their newborn babies look incredibly cute. Amazingly, they look like a normal adult crocodile, just scaled down. A baby crocodile is called a hatchling, and that's because they're hatched from eggs. But if you ever run into one, be careful. Overhandling baby crocodiles can make them stressed and agitated. This can sometimes make them bite you, which is very painful. But now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment down below which was the most amazing newborn baby animal. But as always, thank you for watching. There are some more videos you may like on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.